Potholes are bad, and some of Xenia streets are really bad. But what if there was no bad guys to blame? Welcome, Xenia, back to another episode of XTOWN, the podcast. I'm the host, Josh Long, and founder of Xenia's Word on the Street, where you can get local news, events, and views at xeniaword.com. So it's been a little while since I decided to record a podcast, mainly because of a shift in my full-time career. Kind of had my attention elsewhere, so I'm back recording the podcast. I got a few written pieces I'm working on for the website, and I'm still looking for great volunteers who want to share their love and passion for our community, writing about local events, politics, whatever it is. Xenia Word is a platform for the community to share points of view, opinions, and facts. And that brings us to the point of this podcast, streets. And there's no shortage of opinions floating around the interwebs about Xenia streets. There are no shortage of opinions and no shortage of facts and no shortage of rumors and no shortage of lies. I kind of want to talk about the annual street program the City of Xenia is going through and has been going to since 2010. Cannot comment a whole lot before 2010 because honestly, I wasn't paying attention before 2010. In 2012, when I got elected to City Council, I spent 4 years, pretty deep dive into annual street program and budget, so I know quite a bit. I know the landscape has changed in the last 2 years since I've not been involved, but some of these fundamentals ring true. Typically, I come on the podcast when I have an opinion to share or a rumor I wanted to help debunk. And one of the rumors floating around the internet these days is that the city is spending less than $500,000 per year on roads, that they are not meeting the commitment and promise made in 2010 when the tax levy was voted on to help fund roads and public service, public safety forces. I just want to kind of talk about why that rumor is not true and about the program in general. So before 2010, the city's street paving budget had dwindled down to almost nothing. Less than $100,000 was my understanding of what was being spent on local tax dollars, with another couple $100,000 coming in from the state. That, over a prolonged time, had caused Xenia streets to erode to pitiful conditions. We're not unique to this. I travel this country quite a bit, and up into Michigan is even worse. But we do have our own set of problems, and they need addressed. And in fact, the city has been addressing them quite a bit for the last few years. So going back to that first rumor, let's just kind of dive into what the city budget is when it comes to roads. 2010, a tax levy was passed, and the city promised to dedicate $500,000 to roads. Now, one of the rumors is that they're not doing that. They're not meeting that commitment, and that is patently just not true. The city government and city councils since that time have invested way more than $500,000. In fact, the matter is, since 2011 to 2017, the city has invested $6 million into the roads. That averages out about $1 million a year, doubling the $500,000 commitment. Some of that money comes from that income tax, and the other half comes from other sources of road monies. For example, the money that the state sends to the city to help cover maintenance costs for state thoroughfares and routes like State Route 42 and 68 and 35. So just some facts. I got these right off the city's website. Spent since 2011 to 2017. That's 72 miles, lane miles, that were paved. The reason why you hear lane miles is because the city and most cities consider paving a street double the mileage one way and then back the other, 2 lanes. So on average, they've been spending $750,000 to $1 million a year in street paving. What has that got us? Well, we were in a big hole. And no pun intended, we were in a deep pothole, and even at $1 million a year, climbing out of that hole, it's been slow going. But the city does put out a map each year that shows all the streets that had been paved since 2011. I remember looking at this for the first time in 2012, had about 12 streets on it. Now there's well over 50 or 60 streets that have been paved in the community, all over the community, not just north, south, east, and west. That's another rumor that the north side of town gets paved more. And the fact of the matter is that the north part of town does not see the paving, not even close to what we see here on the west side. As some listeners know, I live off Colorado Drive here. I live on Colorado Drive. So as someone who's been intimately involved with the funding for streets for several years, someone who pays taxes and owns property, and someone who lives on one of the worst streets, I'm all very aware of how bad streets are. I live on one of the worst sections of Colorado Drive there is. But I don't get angry about this because we have a bad situation, but there is no bad guys. What I mean by that is that there's not someone intentionally not paving streets with money. They're paving streets with the money that's available while taking care of other priorities too. I've shared before about the breakdown of city budgets with 50% going to sewer and water, and about another 30 or 40% going to public safety, fire departments, police departments. And what's left is at 15, 20% that gets divided amongst for streets and parks and economic development. And it's just not a lot of money that can be moved and rotated around. There are opinions, of course, about how to increase funding by cutting services someplace else, by raising taxes, or by taking a loan out. The loan is interesting. I think it might be grabbing some attention. I know when we looked into that a few years ago, we could take out a loan, a bond, sell some bonds, take out some money, pave a bunch of streets, but the debt service, the interest and the payment to pay back that loan each year would be equal to, if not more, of the annual street program currently. So that would not leave a whole lot of money to maintain streets and move on. We would just have debt that we're paying off for roads that are deteriorating under our feet. Taking a loan out for a perishable item like roads doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It may to you, and that's good. It's good that you have that opinion, and I hope that it was formed using facts. Regardless of what that is, the reason for this podcast is to talk about that we are in a bad situation, but there are no bad guys. For heaven's sake, someone started a Facebook group to take pictures of bad roads. Some have called for the resignation of city management and the recall of city officials. Most of those people are saying that the city needs a change. What they don't realize is that in less than the last 6, 7, 8 years, the majority of city council has rotated at least twice. We have a newer city manager, a new finance director, and a new law director. The top management in our city has flipped, has changed. But what you're unhappy with is that the outcome is still the same, if not better. I think the outcome of our roads over that period of time has been a lot better than it was before because of our city engineer and our city manager and the councils, because there's been several of them over the same time period. In fact, there's 7 people in city council, and 4 of them are within their first terms on city council. So the majority is within their first 1 or tops 2 terms. Same results. So people keep saying same results. That's not the same results. The road paving from 2011 to 2018 has been anything but the same results that it was 2000 to 2010. Millions of dollars have been invested in roads, and millions more must be invested. So when we talk about roads, and we talk about the uncomfortable reality that there's just not enough money to go around, no matter how much taxes you pay, and believe me, my full-time job, I paid a pretty penny to the City of Xenia. Majority of people in the city are paying less than $800 a year in taxes to the city. $800 is not enough to pave that little stretch of street in front of your house alone. I don't have a solution. I don't think raising taxes, I don't think taking a loan there. I think it's incremental improvements over years. That there is no winning formula where there's enough money to pave all the streets. You just slowly chip away at it. The unfortunate part is that we're slowly chipping away, replacing roads. Other roads are slowly chipping away. I think in the United States we have a problem with our perception, our expectations on just how far a dollar of taxes can really go locally. The average taxpayer is paying $800 a year in taxes in this city. And I do not want to marginalize those who are paying far greater, those business owners, those high-income earners who are paying thousands upon $10,000 in taxes. They're more than picking up their fair share. But for the average Xenia resident, for the average one complaining on Facebook, the average one paying $800 or less a year, you're getting a lot of value. Full-time police department, full-time fire department, parks, streets. You're getting a lot of value for that $800. So, are the streets bad? Yes. To recap, though, the rumor one, we're spending less than $500,000 per year on roads, is incorrect. On average, the city is spending $750,000 to $1 million on roads per year, and that's a mixture of the $500,000 in local tax revenue and funds coming from the state of Ohio through our gas tax and other taxes, I'm presuming like the license tax and things. Are streets being paid more on one side of the town or the other? It's patently not true, and I'm going to leave a link to that map in the show description here at xeniaword.com. This year, the city will probably cross over to nearly 80 or 90 miles of lanes paved. They will cross over to nearly $7 million invested in roads since 2011. This is not going to be the best year for the street program. It's not going to be the worst year. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight, that cliche. But I will say this, for those who are listening at the city offices or city council, you're not the bad guy. No matter how many people are knocking on your door, telling you that you're misusing funds because you're not paving their street, you're not the bad guy. There are no bad guys. Mother Nature may be the only bad guy in this. What was done in the past is done. That city manager, that council, they're no longer here. The roads are getting paved, but not fast enough. But I think we can, as a community, think hard about the dialogue we're having. Do we really need a Facebook page highlighting potholes? Do we really need every other conversation on the interwebs being about the same 7 or 8 bad streets? I get it. I know Colorado Drive's bad. I live on it. And I complain a hell of a lot less about it than half the people on these community forums who do not even live in this community. But I'm venting on a soapbox. The main purpose of it was just talk about the rumors and the facts. The fact is, on average, $750,000 to $1 million a year since 2011 has been spent on these roads. More needs done. A lot has been done. More will get done. There's not an evil empire stopping our roads from being built. There's not someone sucking money off the city coffers to pay for their pet peeve projects. This community in the last 7 or 8 years had advanced so far in infrastructure and growth. Progress Drive is growing. The Reach Center is opening. New hotels and restaurants. Roads being paved. New police department. New city hall. There's a lot of progress being made, and not just on Progress Drive. But if we're going to measure the quality of our community based off solely the quality of our roads, then we got a long way to go. But I'm not going to use that formula. All right, Xenia, I'm out of here. If you want to learn more about the city roads, go to the city's website. If you don't know what that is, it's www.ci.xenia.oh.us, or just go Google, search City of Xenia. Click on the annual street program to see the map of streets that have been paved and stay up to date on the ones that will be paved. I'm seeing a lot of signs in the community. Progress Drive is going to get fixed. Montana Drive is going to get fixed. I'm sure we'll start complaining about the traffic that's involved too. That's just the hypocrisy of public life. All right, guys. Again, this has been Josh with XTOWN, the podcast. Visit xeniaword.com for your local news, events, and views. I am out of here.
Don't get in your way. Hey, what is this?
Xenia's word on the street.